Hello, and welcome to the Great North Gardener. Whether you have a massive garden or a small flat, we'll show you how to grow anything in containers. Over these next 10 tips, we're going to transform you from a clueless plant killer to a certified green-thumbed god or goddess. So grab yourself a cuppa, get comfy, and let's get growing. All right, let's talk pots. First things first, you gotta pick the right size container for your plant babies. A good rule of thumb is to choose a pot that's about 2 inches larger in diameter than the root ball of your plant. When it comes to the type of container, you can go wild. Just make sure they have drainage holes. Trust me, soggy roots are not your friend. Okay, so you've got your pot sorted. Now it's time to talk about the good stuff. The potting mix. Think of it this way. The potting mix is like the food for your plants. Look for a potting mix that's specifically designed for container gardening, as it'll have the right balance of drainage and moisture retention. Avoid using garden soil in your containers. It's too heavy, doesn't drain well, and can harbor pests and diseases. Stick to a good quality potting mix and your plants will be singing your praises. Alright, let's talk drainage. This is super important, guys. Make sure your pot has drainage holes. If your pot doesn't have drainage holes, you can easily drill some yourself. Next, add a layer of drainage material to the bottom of your pot before you add the potting mix. This could be anything from gravel to broken pots or even packing peanuts. Right, watering. It's an essential part of gardening, but it can be quite tricky to get just right. This is probably one of the trickiest aspects of container gardening. Too much water can drown your plants, while too little can leave them parched and struggling. The key is to find a happy medium. You want to keep the soil consistently moist but not waterlogged. Stick your finger about 1 inch into the soil. This simple test can tell you a lot about the moisture level. If it feels dry, it's time to water. Dry soil can cause your plants to wilt and become stressed. If it feels moist, hold off for a bit. Overwatering can lead to root rot and other issues. When you do water your plants, make sure you water them deeply until the water drains out of the drainage holes. This ensures the roots get enough water. Try to avoid getting the leaves wet, as this can lead to fungal diseases. Wet leaves are more susceptible to mold and mildew. It's also a good idea to water your plants in the morning, as this gives them time to absorb the water before the heat of the day. Morning watering helps prevent evaporation and keeps your plants hydrated. Okay, so we've talked about giving our plants the right home and the right amount of water, but they also need food. And that's where fertilizer comes in. Think of fertilizer as a multivitamin for your plants. There are loads of different types of fertilizer out there, but a good all-purpose fertilizer is a good place to start. The best time to fertilize your container plants is during the growing season, which is typically spring and summer. Just follow the instructions on the fertilizer packaging, and don't over-fertilize, as this can actually harm your plants. Right, let's talk about everyone's favorite star, the sun. Just like us, plants need sunlight to thrive, but different plants need different amounts of sunlight. Some plants are sun worshippers and need at least 6 hours of direct sunlight a day, while others prefer a bit of shade. How do you know how much sunlight your plant needs? It should say on the plant label, or you can always do a quick Google search. Once you know how much sunlight your plant needs, you can find the perfect spot for it in your home or garden. Alright, let's talk about pruning. Think of it as giving your plants a haircut. It helps them to stay healthy and looking their best. Plus, pruning can actually encourage your plants to grow bushier and produce more flowers. When you do prune, make sure you use sharp, clean pruning shears to avoid damaging the plant. Don't be afraid to give your plants a good prune. They're tougher than you think. Alright, let's talk about those pesky pests. Unfortunately, where there are plants, there are often pests. But don't worry, there are loads of things you can do to keep them under control. First things first, prevention is key. Make sure you're checking your plants regularly for any signs of pests. And if you do see any, deal with them straight away before they have a chance to multiply. You can use things like insecticidal soap, neem oil, or even just a strong blast of water to get rid of pests. Alright, let's talk about seasonal care. As the days get shorter and the temperatures drop, it's crucial to prepare your garden for the winter months ahead. Just like we have to adjust our wardrobes for the changing seasons, we need to do the same for our plants. This means rearranging your garden layout and making sure each plant is in the right spot to thrive during the colder months. In the winter, most plants go dormant, which means they stop growing and need less water and fertilizer. This dormancy period is essential for their survival, allowing them to conserve energy until spring. You might also need to protect your plants from frost, especially if you live in a cold climate. Frost can damage or even kill sensitive plants, so taking preventive measures is key. You can do this by bringing them indoors, covering them with a frost blanket, or moving them to a sheltered spot. Each of these methods helps to shield your plants from the harsh winter conditions. In the spring, when the weather warms up, you can start to gradually acclimatize your plants to the outdoors again and increase their watering and feeding schedule. This transition period is crucial for their healthy growth and blooming. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, but the most important thing is to relax, have fun, and don't be afraid to experiment. Gardening is a journey, not a destination, and every step you take is a learning experience. Gardening is all about trial and error, so don't be afraid to try new things and see what works for you. Mix and match different plants, play around with colors and textures, and let your creativity flow. Not every plant is going to thrive in every environment, so don't beat yourself up if a plant doesn't make it. It's all part of the process. Sometimes plants just need a little more time or a different spot in the garden. Just learn from your mistakes and move on. Keep a gardening journal to track what works and what doesn't. This will help you make better decisions in the future. The best way to learn is by doing. So get out there, get your hands dirty, and start growing. Feel the soil, understand its texture, and connect with the earth. Gardening is supposed to be enjoyable. Share the experience with family and friends and make it a fun activity for everyone. It's a great way to de-stress, connect with nature, and add a bit of life and color to your surroundings. So take a deep breath, enjoy the beauty around you, and happy gardening. So there you have it, my top 10 tips for growing plants in containers. I hope you found this video helpful and that you're feeling inspired to get out there and start growing your own little green oasis. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more gardening tips and tricks. Happy gardening, everyone.